And now my cat is scratching the lounge. Yes, hello. Welcome to my life. Hello everyone, my name is Kira. Welcome back to my channel. A week or so ago, I posted a poll on my Instagram stories as well as my community tab here on YouTube to figure out which one of 3 videos I should prioritize uploading this month on the channel. We had the first option, which was How to Colour Flowers in World of Flowers by Johanna Basford. The second was another installment in my How to Colour Like Rita Berman series. And the third was a follow-up on my alcohol marker patterns and textures video. And obviously you can see by the title, the Rita Berman video was the winner. I absolutely love putting polls up on my different social medias to see what videos I should create. It's a really fun way for me to connect with you and make sure I'm bringing you content that you're excited about. So I definitely want to do it a lot more in 2025. So if you want to have your say in the videos that I'm putting up on this channel, definitely keep an eye on my community tab here on YouTube and follow me on Instagram and check out my Instagram stories. If this is my first video that you're watching on the channel, I do recommend that you go check out my other Rita Berman tutorials first that I've already uploaded. This video will be building on the techniques that I've shared in those past tutorials, so it'll all just make a bit more sense for you. You can find all those videos in my Rita Berman playlist, so feel free to pause this video, go watch them all, and then come back here when you're ready. Today we're focusing on Rita Berman's miniature style pages. Rita often includes a variety of miniature or collage style pages in her coloring books, especially in her recent travel series. These are some of my favorite ones to see Rita color herself on her Instagram. However, I'm pretty sure I've never tackled one. Fairly sure. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, here's an example of one of the pages that I'm referring to and also the page that I'll be coloring today. I'm not sure if there's a technical term for this type of illustration, but I tend to call them miniature pages or collage pages because they're basically several miniature scenes within one complete coloring page. I wanted to create a tutorial on this style of Rita Berman page because people tend to feel one of 2 ways about them. Either they feel less intimidated by them because they're coloring section by section rather than focusing on tackling an entire page, or they find them even more intimidating due to the sheer number of details on the page. And personally, I fall into the latter category. Now, I'm going to be coloring 3 of the miniature scenes in today's video from the page that I just showed you in Rita Berman's Europe book. And for each of these 3 miniatures, I'll show you a different method to approach the coloring of them. So the first approach we're going to take is one that I've spoken about repeatedly on my channel, which is recreating one of Rita Berman's coloring pages yourself. I've said it before, and I'm sure I'll say it many more times, but this is such a valuable exercise to practice. It gets you thinking differently while coloring. It tests your knowledge of color theory and blending. It gets you trying out new color combinations. It deepens your understanding of your own supplies, and you might even pick up a few new ways on how to shade particular elements within an illustration. That said, when recreating a page, don't feel like you need to stifle your creativity by replicating Rita's work exactly. Setting yourself an impossible task will only lead to frustration. Coloring is not a science. 2 + 2 does not always equal 4, and that's why it's such an amazing hobby. Everyone's experience and style is uniquely their own. Even if we all use the exact same supplies and follow the exact same color along, all of our pages would look completely different because that page is going to reflect the individuality of the colorist. So please always prioritize your creative freedom first. If you want to do something differently, go for it. And make note of why you made a different choice, because that'll give you a really good insight when you're making choices for future pages. When I'm trying to recreate one of Rita Berman's completed pages, I find it the least overwhelming to work color by color. Even when I'm in a creative zone, I do have a very formulaic way of thinking, so this way works best for me. When I was observing Rita's Instagram and Pinterest posts, It seems to me that she tends to build up color on the page using a layering style, which is probably why she doesn't get those gross muddy blends with her beautiful unique color combinations. And from what I've seen, it seems like she generally uses the Faber-Castell Polychromos or the Caran d'Ache Luminance, both of which are excellent for layering. However, I am not a layering colorist. I prefer to blend and burnish because I am an impatient gal with a heavy hand. And while I sprinkle in some layering techniques here and there, which you'll probably see throughout this video, my primary approach is blending and burnishing, and I'm still really happy with the results that I'm able to achieve. One tip I do have for creating a seamless blend without extensive layering is to use a white Prismacolor pencil or the Prismacolor Colorless Blender pencil. The white Prismacolor is great for toning down overly saturated areas where I might have gone in with too heavy of a hand, while the Colorless Blender pencil helps smooth out transitions without altering the pigmentation as much. Another hallmark of Rita's pages is her use of white details and accents. She does this by leaving the highlight areas uncolored on the page or going in with some sort of white medium. I like to use a classic white Posca paint pen for this step, and if I accidentally cover too much line work with the acrylic, I'll either go in and scratch it off with my fingernail very gently, or I'll go in with a black fine liner afterwards and restore the detail. And there you have it, my version next to Rita's. It's not an exact replica, but it's a great example of how I've taken inspiration from Rita's work and reinterpreted it with my own coloring style and supplies. So once you're feeling confident with the recreation method, you are then ready to move on to the second approach. I'm going to read out exactly what I've written here because I really struggled to formulate this in my own words. The second approach is taking a different completed page or miniature by Rita Berman and then applying the same color combos to whichever page or miniature that you are working on. Hopefully that makes sense because trying to describe that somewhat eloquently was very hard for me. So for this demonstration, I'll be taking the color combinations from this completed vignette here and applying them to this vignette in Europa. This is a good example to be inspired by because it's fairly similar to the vignette that I'll be coloring, but it's also different enough for me to stretch my coloring skills. The reason why I believe this method/exercise is really valuable and is a good next step from the first method is because it doesn't get you thinking about color combos and you can more focus on the lighting and shading of the illustration. A lot of people have been requesting a lighting/shading tutorial from me in the comments, and I really do want to give it to you, but it is such a difficult topic to tackle. Because honestly, it's just something that I've subconsciously gotten better with over time, and I try not to overthink it too much. When you look at Rita Berman's shading for her coloring, you'll you'll notice that it isn't necessarily the exact representation of how shadows and highlights present themselves in real life. And that's because her coloring style and color combinations aren't realistic, and so her shading doesn't need to be super realistic as a result. When I'm shading my coloring pages, I'm focusing on two main things: overlapping objects as well as the roundness of a shape. A great example are the books within this little vignette here. The spines of the books are slightly rounded, so I'm focusing on keeping the shadows at the edges and then creating a highlight within the middle. And that's what's going to help create the spherical shape of the object. However, if you're still not super confident with your shadow placement skills, I do have an exercise that I've been practicing myself recently that I found super duper helpful. Basically, what you want to do is find a completed version of the page that you're about to color. Find a good example on Pinterest or Instagram where you think the colorist has just really nailed the highlight and shadow placement. Go ahead and download it or screenshot it onto your phone, and then don't look at it too much. Try to completely erase it from your mind, and then when you go to sit down and color a particular section on the page, what you want to do is think about where you think the shadow placement would go for that particular object. Then cross-reference it with the image that you downloaded. Did they put the shadows in the same spot that you were going to? If not, why do you think they put the shadow placement somewhere else? And is it more or less effective than where you were planning to shade it? I think this is a really great exercise to develop your lighting and shading skills and figure out how you like to color particular objects on a page. Because I know over time I've developed specific ways that I like to color specific objects, such as leaves, flowers, bottles, etc. Now, something you'll probably pick up on if you look at enough of Rita Berman's completed coloring pages is that she loves a gold metallic accent. She obviously uses a gold metallic watercolor or paint for her pages, but because I was feeling a little bit lazy whilst I was coloring this vignette, and also the details were just super tiny, I decided to go with a gold metallic gel pen instead, just to be a tinsy bit more precise and quicker. I actually haven't been adding much glitter gel pen to my pages as of late, but filming this video has definitely got me inspired to add more shiny elements to my pages again, because it really does make my inner child so happy. And as I've gotten older and, life gets more stressful and the responsibilities keep piling up on top of each other every day, I've realized that tapping into your inner child really is so beneficial to your mental health. Life is meant to be enjoyed, and we really need to give ourselves permission every now and again to have a little bit more fun, play around a bit, and I think we'd all be a lot more saner as a result. I went off on a little bit of a TED Talk ramble there, but hopefully it was a nice little reminder to schedule in something today that you love doing. But anyway, here is my completed page next to the inspiration vignette. And obviously I didn't use every color combination, and the color combinations don't look exactly the same as in the inspiration picture, but it's still a fun, bold, vibrant result that's reminiscent of Rita's coloring style. The final approach I'll be sharing in this video is one that I've touched on in detail in a previous video, how to create color combinations like Rita Berman. I do highly recommend watching that video first before this section here, as I break down a range of common color combinations that Rita uses, categorize them into different color groups, and also show you how to apply them onto a page. For this vignette, I'm following the exact same process that I discussed in that video, but on a smaller scale. To start, I place down the main color for each element in the miniature scene. I use a super light hand as well as a pale version of each color that will serve as the highlights. Next, I go in and shade the elements where I know I don't want there to be any extreme bold color combinations. For instance, I kept the leaves in a standard green color combo and colored all the fruit in their usual hues that you would see in real life. Once I reached the parts of the page where I wanted to have a little bit more fun with my color combinations and get inspiration from Rita Berman herself, I went over to my cheat sheet. For the blue elements, I decided to use example number 6. For purple, example number 5. For yellow, example number 4. And for the pink background, example number 5. Then I got to work coloring everything in. As I said, I explained this process in more detail in that previous tutorial, but as a general principle, the darkest colors within your combo will be your shadow shades, the lightest will be your highlight colors, and the rest of the colors will be your midtones. I know it might look effortless, but that truly is the magic of editing. In reality, I've practiced coloring Rita Berman pages a lot. And like anything else, it gets easier with time. For reference, each one of these little scenes took me around 1.5 hours to complete, so coloring like Rita Berman is not a quick process. But if you keep at it, practice a little bit of patience, I promise the effort is all worth it. As much as I'd love to give you a foolproof formula on how to color like Rita Berman, Rita herself even messaged me once after watching one of my videos and said she'd never really given that much thought on her coloring techniques and how she colors. She just colors without overthinking. So instead of trying to replicate her work exactly, I encourage you to channel her essence into your work. Experiment with bold, vibrant combinations and just have a whole heap of fun. If you're enjoying the process, you're already embracing Rita Berman's style in a way that's perfect for you. So here's how the 3 little miniatures are looking together on the page so far. And ironically, my favorite one is actually the 3rd one, which involved the least replication of Rita's methods. I've been colouring in her books for probably around a year now. Actually, no, nearly a year. I remember I got my first Rita Berman book in February last year. And over time, I've picked out my favorite techniques from her, my favorite color combinations, and gradually adapted them into my own style. Whenever I merge her influence with my own creativity, those always end up being the pages that I'm most proud of. So this tutorial ended up being a little bit more philosophical than I intended, but hopefully you still picked up some good tips and tricks along the way. Remember, the 3 pages that I've shown you today aren't limited to Rita Berman's miniature style pages. They also work for her full page illustrations as well, but on a larger scale. If there are any other Rita Berman colouring topics that you'd like me to explore in future videos, definitely let me know in the comments below. But until next time, happy colouring, friends. Have a good day, have a good life, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!